Hello everyone, phoenixtremayne here, and I'm about to do my review of Kandi and the Gang, episode 1. Um, but first, if you haven't done so, please take a minute to subscribe. If you have subscribed, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Please hit that like button so YouTube knows a good channel for soap fans. And we're going to get right into this review. We're going to go down a list of everything that was happening because it was pretty crazy. But I'm actually enjoying this show. I have not watched Bravo in years. I haven't seen Real Housewives of Atlanta since maybe like season 8 or 9. Because I remember the next one was like the 10-year anniversary. So around that time I stopped because I like watched a couple episodes. Was like, nah, I'm not feeling this anymore. I gave up on VH1's Love and Hip Hop. I haven't seen Married to Medicine in like 2 years. So I haven't really been watching a lot of reality TV. If you look at old episodes of my channel, I used to review Real Housewives of Atlanta and a bunch of different shows, Married to Medicine. So now I'm going to give it a try again. Kandi and the Gang is a great way for me to get back into Bravo shows. I probably will still skip Real Housewives of Atlanta. I'm not feeling the lineup of the new girls or the old cast that they're bringing back. But I am looking forward to getting back into Married to Medicine. So now here we go with Kandi and the Gang. Kandi and Todd's restaurant Old Lady Gang is in trouble since losing their general manager. Customer complaints have been bad, and they want to improve their restaurant and rein in the staff that just does whatever they want to do. So they hire Phillip Frempong to be the new director of operations. He's also consulted on their high-end restaurant Blaze. So they make it seem like he really just came from this investment group that he was a part of for restaurants, and but he actually had been working on their other restaurant, Blaze, getting that into shape because that also failed inspection and some more stuff too. But yeah, Philip is a no nonsense kind of manager that comes in, and I completely understand where he's coming from because there was a time where I used to be mad and upset. We get a new manager or supervisor or something at one of the jobs I used to work in, and they come in hard and fast. But that's because owners above them or supervisor above them are telling him or her, that hey, look, we need things to change. Things are really bad. The people aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, and we need somebody to whip this thing into shape. So they do come in hard and fast most of the time. But if you do your job, they usually don't mess with you. In fact, if you're the one that's doing your job when everybody else is screwing up, you become the favorite, and any time off or overtime you want is yours. They'll tell you you're kissing the boss's butt, but all you're doing is doing your job when they over there not doing anything. Been in those situations, worked in more than my share of offices over the years. We also have DonJuan, who's the GM of Kandi Entertainment. We've seen DonJuan over the years on her different spinoffs she's had, as well as Real Housewives of Atlanta. She says that DonJuan isn't really supposed to be an old lady gang all the time, but it's just in such bad shape. So he finds himself there too much because he's also running all her other business, Kandi Cody Nights, all that. So she wants to relieve some of the pressure from him too, because they have actually 3 locations. Shawndreca is pretty much the star of episode 1. She is the one. Shawndreca Robinson is the one that you're gonna love to hate. She provides the majority of the drama for the episode. And anybody who I've seen talk about this show, or I've talked about this show with, she's one of the first people they say they start talking about. Now, she's the original hostess of Old Lady Gang. She's been there for 4 years. That many people have problems with, and she butts heads with immediately with Phillip. And they did something interesting. All of their employees pretty much have a side hustle, and Shawndreca's side hustle is selling designer sunglasses. So I like that Kandi knew that, is a good person, good enough to like even let. We'll talk about Brian later, but he has this egg roll business that he was advertising pretty much on the show. They showed, like some of his egg rolls and different things like that. So they're open to making sure that their employees get their side hustles on too, where they can shine some light on those things. So Shawndreca is someone who immediately butts heads with Phillip, and the truth is they show you like some of the bad reviews and things like that. Even the old lady gang talk about like how they thought she was fired already, and I've had friends like old lady gang wasn't open when I went to Atlanta, but I've had friends that have gone to Atlanta and they've said, about the bad service. The food was okay, bad service, and some people were like the food was good. And we found out in episode 2, they talk about how the food's inconsistent, so it makes sense that I've had friends that have gone there and they said the food wasn't that good, it was just okay. And then I had friends that said that the food was really good and they liked it and they enjoyed it. Um, but I'll talk about that in my episode 2 review. Dom Unique Variety is the next person that we get to see. Dom Unique's side hustle is dancing. She's a professional dancer who the biggest name I guess she's danced for is Meg Thee Stallion, but she wants to dance for, even more people. And of course, being connected to Kandi, that helps her meet more people. And now being on a TV show, she's really going to be, more known. She's having an inappropriate relationship with her manager, Brandon Black, who we'll talk about in a little bit. So back to Shawndreca. Shawndreca doesn't like Phillip, and DonJuan has to mediate a conversation with them, and it doesn't go well. Shawndreca feels like she's being talked down to by Phillip, and Phillip's like, I'm not going to go back and forth uh, with an hourly employee. So that gives you a little bit of an idea about the attitude that he has. That he does see himself here, he does see you here, and I understand that he's management and their employees, but you're all human, you're all still people. So while respect must be had, respect really should go both ways. Now, if the person below you is not respecting you, I can understand you reminding them that, well, if you don't respect me, I can fire you. So I understand completely where he's coming from. Eventually, he overhears her talking bad about him with one of the employees. I think it was Dominique, and he sends her home. So she leaves. She's pissed off. Kandi and Todd are split on his decision. Kandi feels she's loyal and should not have been sent home, but Todd feels that he doesn't need loyal people that aren't doing what they're supposed to do. Kandi has a meeting with the old lady gang, and they all express their dislikes of the employees and their unprofessionalism. So the aunties themselves, they don't work in a restaurant. Basically, their faces on there. They're technically the old lady gang, but they're using their recipes. But they're like in their 80s. They're not going to be out there in the kitchen cooking for folks 5-7 days a week. You know what I'm saying? So they do show up, make appearances. People get excited. People come to the restaurant hoping to get an appearance or two. But the old lady gang, they're not really feeling the employees due to unprofessionalism. Kandi and Todd decide to throw a party for old and new employees in an attempt to get some of the ones that left to come back. And so that brings us the rest of the cast, except for one who doesn't show up until episode 2. So we get to see the ones that are coming back is party planner Torin Mitchell, who used to do parties, and then they sort of tried to slide him into like a management world, which was too much for him. So he just bounced. He just quit. Brian Redmond, who has his own egg roll business, Get Your Grub On. He calls them the Soul Rolls. We'll find out he also had a relationship with somebody, an old lady gang, in episode 2. Rashard Roles, he was a host at Blaze. He's asked to come to the old lady gang, and we find out that he's taking a pay cut to do it, which seems bad until you add in the fact that he's taking a pay cut, but he's on TV. So what he makes from being on reality TV is separate from what he would make from actually working in a restaurant. So, so on the show, he's taking a pay cut, but in reality, he's actually going to be making more money. Because the show, I try to, when I watch reality shows, I try to remember that most reality shows are scripted. And we say all the time, well, what's your storyline? Well, this is your life. You don't have a storyline in life. So, even we sort of acknowledge that these people are characters. That even if they're playing themselves in the role that the show wants them to be in. Shawndreca, she is meant to be an antagonist on the show, as well as Phillip. This is why people watch. People want to see the drama. So even if they have to manufacture some, to make it a good show, it is what it is. So that's why sometimes people really be in their feelings about some of the things that people do in reality shows. I'm like, do you know they take multiple takes of these fights and these arguments? And then there are times on this show where I can see it's like a voiceover. Like Shawndreca is turned, like she's saying something, might be saying something to what's her name? Dom Unique, and it's clearly a voiceover, and it happens like 2 or 3 times in the show where Shawndreca is saying something that was added into the scene because her lips aren't moving, but you're talking. It might have even been something that came from her confessional that they slid on into the show. So to create drama, because reality show actors, which is what they're hired as actors to be on the show. They complain all the time about production. Their production has cut up scenes to make them say and do things that never actually happen. And we know that from American Next Top Model, where we saw some behind the scenes stuff where it showed that they created an argument that had never even happened. It wasn't even, the two of them weren't even talking on the same day. So keeping that stuff in mind, don't be too hard on any of these people. They're just trying to be famous, and they all have their side hustles, and they're trying to do what they got to do, like New York did, or also Omarosa, or any of those people. It can be a double-edged sword. So we move on to we then get to see how Old Lady Gang is run. Shawndreca shows up late or on time, depending on who you talk to. There's people that say, well, it opened at let's say 11 a.m. and she showed up at 11 a.m. She had like 30 seconds to get there. She showed up there at 11 a.m. So technically, if her paid period stop starts at 11, she was on time. But most people know if you're on time, you're late because you have to prepare. So she's not even prepared. She just walked. They show her in the car, on her way to work, saying she's always late. She takes rolls out of hair. The fact that she's on camera, she's on time because she's doing what she's supposed to do in a reality show. The fact that we're seeing her in the car, she's doing her job. So this is when you gotta realize reality ain't reality on reality TV. So she's on time. She's on camera. But we see Phillip is the ship-shape kind of guy, and Brandon is the more relaxed, let's all be friends kind of guy. And Shawndreca switches Rashard and Brandon's seats. Oh, sorry, wrong episode. So they have a 2-hour wait, which turns into a 3-hour wait. Which, let me tell you, I would never, and I never say never because when I say never, it usually happens. But I'm going to say this, I will never be waiting 3 hours for some fried chicken and mac and cheese. In 2 hours, I can make it myself because it takes like a good hour to make some mac and cheese. If you really know what you're doing, it takes about an hour and a half. And then fried chicken, you can make that in like 30 minutes. For real. So yeah, within 2 hours, I could have made it myself, had plenty for later, saved money, don't need to leave a tip or nothing. So yeah, I ain't waiting 3 hours for no food. The longest I've ever waited for a restaurant food is an hour and a half, And it's not because I wanted to wait. It's because whoever I was dating was like, come on, let's just sit here, or let's go walk over to the mall and, and come back and have our little thing waiting for it to flash. But anyway, there's Shawndreca has Rashard running up and down the stairs doing most of the work where he thought, from based on his conversation with Kandi, that he was going to be showing Shawndreca what to do, like how they do it at Blaze, which is the restaurant he worked at before he came there. And no, Shawndreca, she's got her own thing. She just running things and running him. So Brandon, the relaxed manager, is shown spending his time flirting with Dominique. Brandon even reveals that he only went for the job at Old Lady Gang because he wanted to get closer to Dominique. So the whole time, it's been all about her this whole time, and now on TV he's getting his shot. Then the big thing happens: the power goes out. They don't have a generator, and the air goes off when it's 94 degrees outside. Phillip is worried about people leaving without paying. He wants Melvin to cook in the dark. And Melvin is the cook and also Kandi's cousin. He wants him to cook in the dark. And he wants Brandon to manage the tables. But truth be told, it should have all been comped. Good business. If they knew them lights weren't coming back on right away, all of that would be comped. I'm not paying to sit in the dark waiting for you. I got things to do. I'm not waiting for the power to come on. I've had power outages that lasted for 3 days. So no, I'm not sitting in the dark in a hot 94-degree weather with no air conditioner in a restaurant. No. No. You're comping it because you don't even have a square reader on your phone that you can use if the power ever goes out. So you can't pay by credit card and, ain't no air. That's crazy. So there's no backup for credit cards, so they want people to stay in the heat until the power comes back on, which Phillip discovers that it could be like 3.5 hours before the lights come back on. Would you sit in a hot restaurant using your flashlight, sitting at your table? Even Shawndreca was talking to somebody who was asking for that check, and she was like, I'm not going in a dark room. You need to come out here. Anything could happen. And then, sorry ass Todd. Now, I'm a Todd fan. I was rooting for him and Kandi. But when it comes to business, Todd says it's a big to-do for, to get a generator. And the power being out for an hour or two here and there, he can live with that. If you were a customer and you go to a restaurant, and let's say you've been waiting, because their wait time, remember, is like 3 hours. So you've waited 3 hours to get a table and to get your food. Let's say 15 minutes into that 3 hours of you eating, the power goes out. And Todd's like, well, you've waited 3 hours and 15 minutes. You can wait another 3.5. And then Shawndreca says, this happens all the time. The area they're in, the power is constantly going out. Phillip is like, yeah, this restaurant should have a generator, especially if the power's constantly coming, not going out. But cheap ass Todd is like, oh, they can wait. We good. And that is when Todd lost me, because as what could have been a potential customer, when and if I ever go back to Atlanta, and I probably would visit in OLG just for the fun of it. But knowing that's how Todd feels, I am not, I wouldn't even want to risk it. So that was the end of the episode. We found out that Todd don't care about his customers. And it's not like, I could even understand if they were small business owners that didn't have that much money, that they just managed to, rob Peter to pay Paul, and they got their little restaurant open, and they're just making enough to cover the cost of employees and utilities, and they know it's going to be like maybe 2 to 5 years before they really start making a profit because they're a new business. The OLG's only been open for 4 years. Then I would be like, okay, well, I can see how they really can't afford the generator, and that they're just, crossing their fingers and praying that these things won't happen that often and people can understand. But we're talking about multimillionaires. Multimillionaires. Kandi has sold more than enough dildos to be able to afford a generator for an old lady gang. Just saying. Just saying. So that is it for my review of Old Lady Gang episode 1. I'm about to get into my review for Old Lady Gang episode 2, where we find out a lot of mess. We find out a lot of stuff that we probably should know. Should know. They really put their personal business out there in episode 2, and I want to talk about it with you. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you in the next video.